Hey guys, what's up? I got everybody here from TMI. Don't forget to write us an email at tmipodcast2018. That's tmipodcast2018 at gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing. Also, check us out on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. Just use the numbers, don't spell it out.
Ooh, don't forget Facebook.com/TMI podcast 2018.
Follow us on the Apple Podcast app. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review.
All you YouTubers out there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, TMI Podcast 2018. Look for the popcorn bucket.
That's right. Also, check us out on Spotify and the Google Play Music app for all you Android users. Follow us and subscribe everywhere. We appreciate it. We're doing it for you guys, the fans. Thank you.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Dave Odinson Warhowski, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Mike Mjolnir Evans. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Jeff, Mike, we're on. Hello.
Hey, we're here. All right,
Hey, here we're back.
everybody.
Yep, here we are.
We appreciate you people coming back week after week.
Yeah, all three of us are here this week.
Yes. And welcome any new listeners who may be checking in. Maybe they're rock fans for this week's episode.
Not rock and roll,
No.
but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I don't think he goes by The Rock anymore.
No, although it's interestingly in the classic feature today, the rundown, he was billed as The Rock.
Yes. I mean, what? It was the Mummy 2 where he showed up as the Scorpion King.
Then he
had his own. Then he got his own Scorpion King movie, but he was so CG'd that it was like.
Did he have dialogue in those movies?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to say maybe. I would
If
think
not,
he had,
then the classic feature was the first time he had dialogue in a film.
and he still had hair.
Yes, he did. That was a shock.
Yes, he still had hair, and he had no Samoan tattoo because we had the obligatory take my shirt off scene, and he did not have his tattoo then.
You're right. That's right. I didn't even realize that.
Well, you know, I was scanning it. I was checking it out just for research purposes.
It's a little creepy that you would know that.
Yeah, The Rock without that tattoo is like
I was gonna say,
Oreos
it's
without
pretty. It's quite synonymous with him now. At this point, it's iconic.
But gentlemen, wait before we get into it, first order of business. We have a winner. We have a winner in our giveaway.
We do have a winner.
Yes.
Winner, chicken dinner.
We hit 20 reviews, and thank you to all of you that reviewed us. But a special thanks.
16, 17, 18, and 19, but especially 20.
But a special thanks to our number 20. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. IFEU was the screen name. IFEU.
IFEE.
So IFEEYOO. So obviously, we do not know who this person is. We only know their screen name. They gave us a positive review. Thank you for that.
Yes,
and
they even called out.
Special shout out, Jeff,
to my logo, killer logo. So I'll take it. And no, that was not one of my family members. Neither one of my kids went on and did this.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I was wondering myself, to be honest.
So if you're listening, and hopefully you are, because otherwise you don't know that you won, please email us at our Gmail. It's tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. Give us your name and address, and we will ship you your Sidon Ethano pop because you earned it.
And Jim wants it out of his house.
It's been staring me in the face every time we record this. So
you're like, oh,
yeah. So we'll have to move on to the next one. If you are you email us at Gmail, and we'll get you that pop.
I will say that there was another review on there by that guy Matthew, and he mentioned that he would love us to do an Evil Dead episode.
Oh, I'm not.
And I think with Halloween coming up, that may be a doable thing.
Yeah, we're entering into the Halloween season.
Yes, we are.
And the Evil Dead movies, I think, are right up all of our alleys because they are not heavy, hard-handed horror. They're more, they're very slapstick. They're very campy, yes.
Well, especially
Rated G horror, that is right up my alley.
I think maybe we should avoid the first Evil Dead movie because that is pretty borderline. That is very...
Well, when you got raping trees going on there.
But yeah, when you get into the Evil Dead...
I don't know. That first one's just fun. And that's Sam Raimi, right?
It is. They're all Sam Raimi.
Yeah, he cut his teeth on those things.
But he really found his voice, I think, in the second one, and especially Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
An all-time classic. So yes, I think we will. That guy, Matthew, we will grant your wish.
I agree. Let's go. Nice. Thank you for that recommendation.
So let's get into it today. Now, Jeff, you have a couple of news items that you want?
I got 2 news items. One, which is, it's not really new news, but we haven't really talked about it. And Jim, you being a huge Oscars fan, the Academy Awards, they have created a new category this year.
Really?
It is known as the popular film category. What does that mean? Are they following box office? Is it like pop culture based? I'm not really sure where this. I guess at this point they're just trying to bring in new viewers.
Is instead of the classic Oscar, you'll just get a big fat dumb guy?
Maybe you'll just get a big gold popcorn. They are referring to it as the popcorn Oscar, so we can ride that all the way to our logo.
Well, that would be awesome to actually watch the Oscars and see a movie that I've seen win.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, which is, I guess they're trying to cater to, popular opinion or, I'm not really sure.
And if they were smart about it, they would hold that Oscar until towards the end of the night to keep everybody glued.
Well, correct. Yeah.
Do you think we've had anything to do with this?
Yes, I think that Iwifu, what was his name? our 20th reviewer, he stole our idea with the logo. He's like, I have it. I don't know. I mean, we already have
it's copyrighted, people. It's copyrighted.
Right. We have the People's Choice Awards. We have other awards. So I don't know where this, whatever. I just thought it was interesting, so I threw it out there. Secondly, it's official that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is on hold.
Are they further reviewing the James Gunn case? Is this why it's on hold?
I think Marvel and Disney have basically said, we need to part ways with you. We can never work with you again. There's already rumors that DC's all over him. Dave Bautista's been going on that I'm not going to film a movie without this guy. I'm not going to film it unless it's his script. And I think Disney's like, not only are we not going to use you as a director, but we're not going to use your script. Ooh. So there's a lot of internal struggles going on right now. So it is on hold. I mean, it was gearing up. They were well into production. I mean, the script has been finished. So who knows?
Did they release the tweets and all of that sort of stuff that was so objectionable?
It wasn't Disney. It was this other side company. And, it's, I guess part of it is this politic thing going on where they're just digging deep, trying to find whatever they can on some of these people. It's sad. That's all I have to say. But that's all the news I have.
So now with the possibility of a decent DC movie is on the horizon.
Maybe.
we might want to review at some point.
We could, but it's like, boy, we haven't really talked at all about any DC stuff other than the Aquaman trailer.
Yeah, oh, no, that's coming out. I have a feeling that we will probably review Aquaman.
I think we'd have to.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So that's it. That's all the news that we have today.
So is that going to be in the next Oscar show, that new award?
Yes, I believe it is.
All right.
Yeah.
So maybe our first movie will be up for if there's something
we actually watch.
Nothing driving that nomination except for boxing.
I don't know. The Meg keeps swimming, so it could very well show up at the top. But now you got Infinity Wars, Black Panther. I mean, so any of these popular movies could definitely kind of take the prize.
So speaking of populist movies, we have a shared star between our main feature and our classic feature, and hence, as we mentioned before, this is a Rock-A-THON.
Rock-A-THON. Rock-A-Palooza.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever addressed The Rock in any kind of way, shape, or form before. So
no, and that's an oversight on our part. We need to talk rock more often. Maybe this could be the first annual Rock Fest. Once every 6 months, we just take 2 of his movies.
Yeah, because he basically comes out with 2 or 3 movies a year, it feels like, anyway.
Well, do you know that he is? Well, technically, they just came out that George Clooney is the highest paid actor, but that's part of it has to do with the fact that he sold his tequila company for like $700 million. But The Rock is number 2. had 124 like gross $1 million in his pocket.
Well, that's not fair. If George Clooney is
right, it's not based on his.
Yeah, it's not based on film.
Right. But anyways, Dwayne Johnson, $124 million. You're right. This guy just keeps pumping these movies out.
Yeah.
And it's really
people go to see him.
He's always the same guy. I mean, you get, and it's not, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, he's a very likable guy. You have to admire this guy's trajectory going from WWF as a wrestler coming out, and I don't know, to a small degree, did he follow Schwarzenegger's path as far as, this taking these small little roles here and there, and now he's a leading guy. Carries a movie. He keeps carrying.
His movies, by and large, are not all that good, though.
But people still go see him. It's like we said last week, empty calories. You know what you're getting with The Rock. Yeah. Or Dwayne Johnson. I'm sorry, he doesn't.
And you've got a built-in fan base with the WWE followers there too. So I'm sure every wrestling fan goes to see every single one of his movies.
Was he universally loved? He wasn't like one of these divisive.
He was. He went back and forth between good guy and bad guy.
Oh, they all do. Hulk Hogan even did that.
Yeah, but people, I think, still, just like Roddy Piper, you would go to see Roddy Piper, regardless if you liked him or not.
We need to do They Live.
Yes, we do. And what was that other one? Hell Comes to Frogtown that he made?
Oh my God, I don't know. But that doesn't even ring a bell.
Because he went right to video after They Live. They were just straight to video movies.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're making it up.
I was going to say, Mike, are you familiar with that one?
Not. It's like mutated frogs. It's, post-apocalyptic. It's not very good.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So we're about to judge another film, whether or not it was fun.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's if your eyes are open.
And this is the 2018 release of Rampage. And Rampage is based on a beloved video game from the mid-'80s. And it was a stretch, I think, to come up with a plot to hold the concept of the video game. So Rampage is a rock vehicle, as you're all aware by now. It deals with a company called Energene, and they're abusing a genetic editing process called CRISPR. Which is some kind of an acronym. I don't think they ever even give us what the acronym is.
No, I think it was right now. It was right up there with Squid from last week's episode. It's just like a pathogen type of thing, I guess. But yeah, they never really explain beyond that. So
apparently this is developed in the early 90s. You get all this because of a title card shows in the beginning of the movie that in 1993, this CRISPR technology is advanced. What they're trying to do is cut out diseases from humanity by using genetic editing.
Yeah, that works so well.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
Always does. Never side effects.
These people in these movies have never actually seen any of these movies to be like, wait a minute, this might not be a good idea.
And the reason that these things are developed are never plot points of this movie. It's just to get the plot going of, what the side effects are. It'd be interesting to see a movie where they actually talk about cutting out the diseases of humanity by using this genetic editing rather than having it go into mutations, but I digress. So anyway, CRISPR is this technology that, because the government is afraid that it's going to be abused, they declare it illegal. But of course, there is the devious Energene company that is using it to do tests to weaponize animals. I think that's what is going on.
Yeah,
here.
I guess that seemed to be, I don't know. I mean, that opening sequence on the space station was probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
Agreed.
It was great. It was good. It was like, all right, this is cool. I mean, you just come right in this chaos. You got floating bodies, severed hands floating around. That would have been cool to see in 3D.
Right, mutated rat.
Yeah, and you got a giant mutated rat in space.
In zero gravity.
And he's just hell-bent on getting to this one lone research scientist who's fleeing for her life. And she's communicating with the home base, and she's like, listen, this thing's loose. And they're like, no, you need to bring this stuff back to it. Like her life is inconsequential. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They're like, screw it.
So in the grand tradition of Weyland-Yutani and corporations, the Tyrell Corporation and Blade Runner, we know right off the bat that this Energene is not a nice place.
No.
Because they're doing these tests on animals in space, so nobody knows. But then, as we were just discussing, a test goes wrong with a rat who grows to supersize, kills all the astronauts except for one hapless lady astronaut who tries to escape. And she does because the rat has clawed the window of her escape shuttle. She explodes when she goes through the atmosphere in re-entry. So that is the beginning of the movie. When her shuttle explodes in the atmosphere, it shoots out 3 capsules with this formula pathogen, which land not in any populated areas, just where animals are. So you don't get
burns up in the atmosphere, which is what most things do when they explode in space. You come screaming down to.
That would have been cool if the movie ended where you see a 4th capsule, and like it's just some farmer, who's now a giant.
So I kept waiting at the end. You want to see the mutant rat maker return, or better yet, a 70-foot mutant scientist who she survived and is now like the 70-foot woman.
Yeah. So one of these canisters lands in Florida in the swamp. Another one lands in Wyoming amongst a pack of wolves, and a third lands in the gorilla habitat, which we learn is where the Rock works because he is a paleontologist.
Davis Okoye.
Okoye.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And his best friend is George, the albino silverback gorilla, who is the one that breathes in the toxin and that makes him insane. Doesn't make him as big or quite as mutated as the crocodile or alligator and the wolf, but it does make him a little crazy. So maybe he just didn't get enough of the green
he didn't
smoke.
Sniff it in.
So the evil Energene Corporation, headed by these sister and brother, the probably unconvincing actors I've ever seen.
Cartoon villains. I saw a review online where they referred to them online as Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka.
Not bad. Not a bad analogy. And, it reminded me of the brother and sister from Iron Fist. Also pretty over-the-top, hammy, and bad actors.
They were worse than that.
They were bad.
So these two, their home base is in Chicago. And it's in the Sears Tower, I think, is where their office is.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to have a bad guy lair.
Make it the most obvious place in Chicago.
I don't know, yeah.
So what they do is they want these animals, since their precious serum has been destroyed upon re-entry, they want the animals to kind of cull that back out of their bodies. So
they call them.
So they call them with a radio transmission from the top of the Sears Tower to Chicago. I don't know what they're planning on doing with them because they seem to be pretty indestructible. You can't shoot them. You can't drop them out of a plane. I don't know
how are they going to deal with them when they got there?
Yeah, exactly. So
send them to the park.
But this is the first problem I have. You have this annoying sort of subsystem radio transmission, and they're going to run to it instead of away from it.
Right.
The argument is that they're going to try to run to it and destroy it as quickly as they can. So you see,
that? See, yeah. All right.
So they all converge on Chicago, and that's pretty much the setup of this movie. The Rock tries to break through to his friend George, which he does because they get George an antidote.
They communicate via sign language. So go back to the original gorilla from the 80s, the Coco. Gorillas can sign language. So that was actually kind of a cute thing. The interaction between this character, Davis, and George, I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, the fact that he teaches him how to give the finger.
Well, that's a running joke, right? That he gives him the finger. That's my best Rock impersonation, by the way.
And he's so self-satisfied, too, is George. Whenever he gives
correct, right. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's telling you to go.
So there is an antidote for this, but the evil siblings don't want that to be given to these animals because they want to harvest the bad stuff that's in them that's causing them to be mutated.
And that's this girl that teams up with it. She's a disgraced scientist.
Naomi Harris, who was from earlier classic film, 28 Days Later, and also Moneypenny from the new James Bond movies.
I did not pick up that either.
Yeah, that's the same girl, Naomi Harris.
Okay.
So yeah, the Rock works with her to try and bring George back to reality, and they do. So they get George the antidote, and then there's a huge King Kong versus wolf and alligator at the end of this movie. It's well done, special effects wise, but the fighting doesn't really grab you. It's just kind of
it's like wanton carnage fun. It's just I give them credit for not destroying New York one more time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's go Chicago.
Yeah. The money shot for me at the end was when the alligator is climbing up the side of the skyscraper and goes through it and comes out the other side.
It goes out the other side.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And when the alligator snaps off the head of the wolf, I thought that was pretty cool.
Now, see, here's the part where I have to step into the confessional early.
Okay.
Because I don't remember any of that.
I'm going to go on record. Confess to us, Jeff.
I fell asleep in this movie.
Oh, well, you have good company, Jeff. Because I don't know if I fell asleep or just blacked out. You know, I'm not sure what it went. But my money shot was how they delivered the antidote to George, which was essentially slipping it in the sister villain's purse, and then George ate her.
Yeah.
Wow, I passed out long before that.
I wonder what the sign language is for George. You ate a lady, you know. I also fell asleep. But it was during the last 5 minutes, the climax of the movie, and I woke up during the credits, and I just rewound, and I watched it again. And I had to fight the second time to stay awake.
And that was 2:00 in the afternoon. Oh my God!
It was a struggle to get through.
This movie really made me appreciate the Meg all the more. But we didn't talk about Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, we have to talk some Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah,
because he does inject some much needed gravitas, I guess. I don't know what you want.
He's playing Negan. That's all he's doing.
He's a slightly toned down Negan, but he is straight up Negan.
He's looking at the Rock sideways, just like he looks at Rick.
The spinning of the shoulders. Yeah. And I think my favorite, when he comes in, he makes this little speech. He goes, "When science shits the bed, I'm the one they call to clean the sheets." I'm like,
and then it was lights out.
Yeah. Then it was.
But he does his best to ingratiate himself with the audience, maybe trying to wipe the bad taste of Negan out of everybody's mouths by helping The Rock and Kate Caldwell as much as he can. Gives them the keys to an Army helicopter. It's
here you go. Here. Yeah.
Like, you're protocol.
That went way better than I thought it would.
Yeah, it did. I was hoping I could knock him out too, though.
You know there are other ways of dealing with people, right?
I do know that, yeah, but that's no fun.
You're a primatologist, yeah, but you're The Rock. You can fly anything. I will say that Dwayne Johnson is invested no matter what he does. Like he's just all in, but he can't save this one.
I think part of the problem with the movie is that it takes itself so seriously.
That was my complaint with the Meg last week, but this one even more so.
Yeah,
it's a video game.
I could count maybe on one hand the amount of jokes that are in
the funniest thing was the gorilla giving the finger. Oh, and it was over and over again. Do you know? So the director of this, Brad Payton, was born in '78. So this kid, he's not all that old, but he has directed a couple, San Andreas, which was a pretty good rock.
It was a rock movie.
And Journey 2. Which was
Journey to the Center of the Earth, yeah.
Because I guess they didn't want to bring Brendan Fraser back, so they brought in The Rock.
For lack of anything else, this movie could have a drinking game based around it. You take a shot every time The Rock says George.
George!
You'd be pretty toasted by the end of the
I would like that. I like that.
Yeah, let's rewatch it then.
Yeah.
There you go. Carlton Cuse, our Lost creator, has writer credit on this thing too. So
for me, the battle wasn't that great at the end. I talked about the money shot with the alligator and the wolf getting his head snapped off, and that was pretty cool, you guys. If you want to like YouTube that scene where the alligator kills the wolf, that was pretty good. But yeah, I enjoyed the Negan channeling by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but pretty much in terms of rock movies, I would rate this pretty low.
Yeah.
The public disagrees with us, as is usual.
The Rock can do no wrong.
No. So this thing had a $260 million budget.
Ouch.
Worldwide, it made $426 million. So it was a sizable hit. It's 52% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
52.
So
that's considered fresh. 52. I will tell you, it was also up for 3 Teen Choice Awards.
Was it really? I wonder.
Did it win any?
I don't know. I think they were all nominees. I don't think they won.
And here we go. Here's a direct quote from Wikipedia. This is the all-time best ever reviewed film based on a video game. So,
well, reaching for something positive to say.
yes.
All time.
Then it makes you think, what other movies?
I'm digging deep right now. I'm like, well.
I can only think Pixels. That's the only thing that's coming into.
And
my
that
head.
wasn't really a straight up adaptation. It was just bringing all those video games.
Then we have Wreck-It Ralph, which is also,
Yeah, you're just
really
kind of
that.
immersed in the Doom, which The Rock was also in.
Oh yes,
that was a direct.
What's the one with Mila, the horror one?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. There's like 10 of those.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just crank them out like once a year.
They do. Keep her employed. That's what they do.
That is true.
They've concluded it. I think it's done.
Yeah, I think it was the last one.
You can never conclude Resident. That's coming. They're bringing it back. Number 11. So let's get off the Rampage because I don't want to talk about it.
We're about to be on a rampage.
What? How many popcorn buckets are we going to give this thing?
Man, I'd go 2 if the mutant rat had returned. So I don't know, 1.5.
I think me, like George, I would like to give this movie the finger. And I give it 1 popcorn bucket only because I don't think we have 0.
I can envision your hand coming out of our popcorn bucket with the fingers. Yeah. Yeah, if I could give it 1 3/4, I would give it that. Just for the wolf getting his head snapped off, I think. Maybe 2. I might round up to 2, but yeah, it's not. I wouldn't call it a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Not a good bad movie either.
I want my $5.99 back.
But if you do want to, lull yourself to sleep, this is the movie to turn on before bed.
This is better than Ambient.
Yeah, so we can wake ourselves up. Why don't we head over to the concession stand and get some caffeine, some popcorn, because I'm smelling it. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Hungry? Thirsty? The refreshment stand is open with everything to satisfy your taste buds. Here's the menu. The hottest, freshest, crunchiest popcorn. Each kernel popped to its fullest with that real movie time taste. Cold drinks. You'll find your favorite ice cold, tasty, and thirst quenching. And hot dogs, hamburgers, and candy too. Now a short intermission, so you'll have time to make your selection before the show begins.
We had to sneak that in there somewhere.
We had to. Okay, so our classic feature this week is another Rock.
Early Rock.
This one
classic Rock
is Rockin' and Rollin'. The Rundown from 2003. The last hurrah of Sean William Scott.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared off the planet.
Stifler. He's one of these guys that will always look like he is 12 years old, no matter how old he is.
He acts like a 12-year-old. Well, I guess if this was his last hurrah, it wasn't a bad one. He's a pretty likable character in here.
So this is a one last job movie. There are a million one last job movies.
Right.
But this is just another one of those. So what we have is The Rock, who plays Beck. And he is an enforcer for like a mob kind of a guy.
They give him in the opening graphics there. They refer to him as a retrieval expert, but he's a bounty hunter. Basically.
So yeah, if you owe this guy Walker money, he calls The Rock, and The Rock comes and collects. So The Rock is kind of the guy that comes to break your legs if you owe Walker money. And the basic setup of this movie is that Walker has a son named Stifler. And who is in Brazil, in the jungles of Brazil, who Walker wants back. And so Beck apparently owes Walker money himself, and that's why he does this for a living. And he is a frustrated chef. He wants to open his own restaurant, and Walker promises if he brings back his son that he will give The Rock his money for the restaurant, which I think is $250,000.
Yeah,
and that he will no longer have to enforce happy ever after. So it is a one last job scenario for The Rock in this movie. So he goes down to Brazil and runs into Christopher Walken.
Hey, Jabul, my walk. I can't even do a Christopher.
Yeah, I tried to do it to practice my impression, and I couldn't do it. But he plays Hatcher.
Yeah, and he just
the head of this little town in the jungles of Brazil, who is runs a mining corporation, and apparently they're mining for gold, and it's like slave labor almost from the looks of it. And what is Sean William Scott's name? I don't want to keep calling him Stifler.
It was Travis.
Out of respect,
Travis.
Okay,
Travis.
So he's looking for El Gato,
El Gato, which was the devil's cat. But El Gato is just the cat.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the devil came from.
Wait, did they ever call it El Gato Diablo or anything like that?
I
just El Gato?
had a hard time at some point, but yeah, it was he kept referring to it as El Gato, but then he referred to it as the devil's cat.
Then we have the lovely Rosario Dawson as Mariana.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, she was glowing in the depths of that jungle, the sweat. And I don't know how these guys film in movies like this, because I would have died. Those jungles have got to just be filthy, full of bugs and hot. And yet she was glowing. She was glowing the whole time.
She was glowing. And it also has Ewan Bremer, who plays Declan, who is Spud from Trainspotting.
Yeah. Moods on the ground. And you're like, what? Is this moods on the ground?
Yeah.
No. Cows on the ground.
We can't land now.
Why? Why can't we land?
I got the booze on the grind. Oh,
Booze on the grind?
hey, the booze on the grind. The cattle down there. Cows.
Yeah, it was a very hard guy to understand what this guy was going. But he had a nice little story arc at the end, though.
So this is a funny movie, I thought. I enjoyed it. I hadn't seen it since, I remember seeing it at the drive-in in 2003. And I was maybe one of 4 cars in the drive-in. Because it was released.
Mike, were you there as well?
It was released in late September, so it's the end of the drive-in season, so it's getting cold, right? So it wasn't because of the movie that there was 4 cars. It was
just that it was frigid.
But
now, Mike, you mentioned that you last week that you had not seen this movie. You did not know what this movie was.
I have never seen this movie, and I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Nice. Did anybody pick up on the little Schwarzenegger handing off of the baton at the beginning of the movie?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck. Have a good time. Is that what he says? What does he say exactly?
I think he just says good luck.
But yes, but that's pretty. If you didn't remind me of that, I would have forgotten about it, because the movie is such a ride, and it happens like in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Right. So
you forget completely about it.
That's even like pre-credits where they're setting him up as this bounty hunter. He comes in. There's a quarterback, NFL quarterback that owes money, and so he's going in to retrieve the money. And of course, the guy's got like half of his defense line there as well. And there's a phenomenal fight sequence, which is just very well choreographed. It's so 90s, I guess. There's a lot of fast cuts in this movie.
And there's a lot of obvious wire work, like Crouching Tiger type wire work, where they're,
when he's in the jungle with the little, as they refer to the, at one point, I think, Hatcher actually called you stinking ingray Oompa Loompas.
Oompa Loompas. Yeah. Classic.
But it is just it's a fun movie. He doesn't use guns. He abhors guns, so it's all fisticuffs, and he's always you got option A or option B, and then whoever chooses whatever option is always the wrong option, and he's got to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and it's like he always wants him to go for option A. He does not want to beat the shit out of him. Like whenever they say it's got to be option B, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Remember, and he calls in the very beginning when he's up against that football player and then half the team. He calls Walker saying, well, he's got half the team here. You're thinking it's because, I can't take on half the team.
Right.
Like, do you really want me to beat him up? They're having such a great...
Right. It is fun. It's a fun movie. I don't know what was going on with Travis there, because that was like a half mullet. It wasn't a full-on mullet, but he did have a little long in the back. He was going Joe Dirt there on us.
And I wasn't really sure what the relationship was between Travis and Mariana, if they were boyfriend-girlfriend, or if
it just looked like he was constantly hitting on her.
Because then they had to open it up at the end for the Rock and her. So you have to move Stifler out of the way for that to happen. There's a lot of great dialogue in this. The Tooth Fairy.
Oh my God, we'll see.
There are 2 men in that jungle who are trying to steal from me. I feel like a little boy who's lost his first tooth. Put it under his pillow, waiting for the Tooth Fairy to come. Only 2 evil burglars have crept in my window and snatched it before she could get here. Do you understand the concept of the Tooth Fairy?
Yeah. He took my tooth.
That one scene where Stifler yanks the steering wheel of the Jeep from the Rock's hands, and it goes off the mountain, and they go down the mountain for about 10 minutes.
It's like a 2,000-foot fall.
Which will totally either paralyze someone or kill them.
Yeah, nothing. Absolutely, they walk away broken bone free.
Yeah.
Well, that's also Rock's cousin does the stunts for him.
Oh, does he?
Really?
There's a couple scenes in those fight scenes where you can see that it's not necessarily him, but it's pretty seamless.
And I got to shout out to the monkey scene where they're
Come
hanging
on, the
upside
monkeys.
down.
Yeah.
Now,
He's like, what's he doing? What's he doing?
It's up in your face. He's up in your
face. Oh, when he first gets trapped up there and he finds his notebook and he's like, what are you, like a chef? He goes, oh, Wolfgang's stuck right there. You know.
Did this bother you though? Which is, they were baboons, but they were in Brazil, and I was like, no, baboons are in Brazil. This is, I mean,
I went with it. They were nasty, mutated baboons. As that, yeah, giant teeth. He's humping you.
And I also want to point out that the director of this movie is Peter Berg, who is a very masochistic, masculine. You don't see like a soft movie on his resume whatsoever. He's killing prostitutes and very bad things. If you guys remember that movie,
yeah.
He did Battleship. He did Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, The Kingdom, Last Survivor.
So a manly man.
Yeah,
movie.
they got to check your testosterone level before you go into the theaters for these movies, or they don't let you in. Mark Wahlberg, check. The Rock, check.
There you go. Yeah.
Peter Berg, who makes manly movies for men.
Get on that.
So I loved it.
This is a very fun movie. The scene where they actually find this El Gato. I mean, you can't have Jungle Treasure without evoking Raiders of the Lost Ark. You just can't get away from it. But, Travis knows exactly where this thing is hidden. They're all after it, but they have to dive and go underneath a waterfall. And Mariana turns to Beck at one point, and she's like, oh, by the way, don't pee in the water. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, there's parasites that'll swim up your ding-dong, and we'll have to amputate you. It's like, not today.
It would have been funny if she just said, because I don't want to swim in your pee.
There you go. Point taken. Yeah. But that fight scene when they get captured by the rebels and all the little he's speeding Tarzan jiu-jitsu going on there. Like you said, the wire work with these guys, they're swinging down Tarzan style and just beating the living crap out of him was pretty funny.
Yeah. What's the little guy's name? Manitou, I think his name was.
Yeah, I think that it was something like that.
Yeah.
But when Travis is speaking Portuguese to them and he's trying to explain, like he's lying to them straight up that Beck is obviously working with Hatcher and that you should just kill him now or whatever. And at one point he says he pisses on your ancestors and you'll make a pretty bride. That was such a great line. But yeah, the monkeys, and then the hallucinogenic fruit. So they find a treasure, and then she immediately steals it from them. She gives them fruit. So Travis has been living down there for how long? You don't think that he would have known that he's now eating hallucinogenic fruit? That's my only jump in logic in this entire movie.
Yeah,
Other than the fact that every one of the bad guys went to like the Stormtrooper School of Inaccurate Shooting.
Yeah, now you're ruining it for us.
Yeah,
they couldn't hit the broadside of the board on anything.
And if I may just jump on that bandwagon, the one thing I found fault with was the whole aspect of him not wanting to use guns, but then wholly embracing them at the end of the movie.
You knew that was coming.
Because what did he say at one point? Bad things happen when I use
things
guns.
happen to people.
50 people die when I use guns.
Well, usually when guns are involved, bad people die.
But what does that say? At first you're thinking, okay, this is a stand-up guy. He doesn't use guns. But then, at the end it turns out to be a shootout anyway.
Yes, and he's just point blank destroying everybody after they release the cattle to decimate half of the army right off.
Right. But then he doesn't kill Walker at the end. Like,
no, Hatcher's sitting here. He goes. That's a lot of cows. That's such a stupid throwaway line.
He's definitely not going to get his restaurant now. Now, if Walker is still alive, so
right. Yeah.
I did read somewhere though that they're interested in doing a sequel to this movie.
Really?
For the longest time, it couldn't happen because it actually was not a box office success upon release. $85 million budget. It only made $80 million.
Oh, wow.
So it did not make its budget. But obviously, now The Rock is a megastar. Sean William Scott, call me. They would both be down, I'm sure.
That's like Alex Winters from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's like, yeah. Please, let's do a third one. Actually, I heard
they are
doing a third one.
They're doing one.
Yeah, that's a lot of cows.
Yeah. So I would give Rundown, if we were just talking popcorn buckets with this one, 3.5.
Yeah, easily. It is just a fun. I enjoyed it immensely. And when he eats a fruit and their face warps is hysterical. And then, they're obviously, drugged. And I thought that was always funny. But when they're laying there and all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, Phil," and the monkeys come back. He's like, "Go away, monkey, go away." And they're all
yeah.
It's enjoyable. It's a late 90s, early 2000. It is what you would expect it to be.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
We heartily recommend it. 15
years later, they're still filming The Rock coming out of a car in slow motion, right? I think every episode of Ballers, he's like, it may be in his contract. I don't know.
Do we know what the next Rock movie is that's coming out?
Something like this, right? Yeah. Something like the Rampage, right?
It's just, I mean, what? Skyscraper was just a Towering Inferno / Die Hard ripoff. I didn't see it, but that's what I take away from it when I saw the trailer.
Yeah, this is a prime candidate for a Blu-ray review from us. Once Skyscraper hits the
Skyscraper, maybe we'll pair it up with yet another Rock movie.
Maybe we will.
Tooth Fairy. Maybe we'll go Tooth Fairy. Game plan. What is that? He like I said, he kind of plays the same character, but he's a really Have you ever seen Central Intelligence?
No.
Highly recommended. Kevin Hart. This is probably the only Rock movie I can think of off the top of my head where he really kind of plays a different type of character. And you kept waiting for him to break character. You think that it's like a put on the entire movie, but it's not. It's enjoyable as hell. Check it out.
So there we go.
Okay.
So I think it's time now for our confessional.
Confessionals.
And today's question is, this is inspired by Rampage, and Rampage could inspire little else, but, a confessional question.
Confessional.
So going back to our video gaming days of the 80s, what was our favorite arcade games back then?
Well, Jim, you've gone on record to say you weren't much of a video game player.
I was not, but I would say I was an arcade gamer, but not a home gamer.
Okay.
So I was all about the quarters, but not about the joystick.
Mike?
So our arcade was in the Trumbull Mall in Connecticut, which was sort of down in the basement, off to the side, across from the piano store. That was, filled with people in denim and leather, smoking and coming out of their cars, after having pot and all of this sort of stuff. So I was not a huge gamer, but the ones that I remember the best when I did do that was Space Invaders and Asteroids.
Classics.
Yep.
Classic indeed.
That's kind of what kicked it off.
Yeah. Mine was, I liked Galaga, which was kind of a mutation of Space Invaders.
Yep. Yeah, because you could move around.
That was a good one. Qbert, I loved.
Oh, I could never master Qbert.
Dig Dug, remember that one? Frogger.
Dig Dug.
Frogger, yes.
Frogger.
Yep.
And our arcade was called Dream Machine. And this was 2 locations, one in the South Hills Mall in Poughkeepsie and one in the Fishkill Mall, which is now pretty much dead to the world.
Yeah.
But they had one game in the Fishkill location at Dream Machine, and it was a very low-lit room, so the only lights in there were from the arcade games themselves. So, it was like almost going into an adult bookstore where you were...
Right.
They had one game called Shark Hunt, where you had like a full-size harpoon gun, and it was a very rudimentary game, but I loved it. And then you would shoot the sharks that were swimming around, and then you would see like the harpoon go in them and the blood in the water. And it was very simple, but I loved that game. And then somebody took it out of that.
Peter Bandit.
Put it in a newer game, and then it was gone. And I could never, ever find it again.
Shark Hunt,
yeah.
And it's not like they ever brought that to like the home game.
No, they never did, because it was too simple. By that time, like home games.
Yeah, but that's really one step beyond Duck Hunt. You just shoot sharks as opposed to, I would like a harpoon gun in my hand.
Yeah, it was cool.
I think that's
so that would be my number one.
I don't remember that at all. I didn't really have an arcade around us, but like my grandfather used to take my brother and I on the weekends or weeks, and we would always like bar hop, and we would go from like bar to bar, and we would end up playing whatever video game was in this bar. And the bartender would challenge us. And if we won, we beat him, he would give us free, beer nuts or a soda or whatever. And I got pretty damn good at Centipede. And that was probably the only game that really had the tracker ball.
The roller ball. Yeah, I love that.
Ball. because it was just this fast motion, so again, it's Space Invaders in the sense that you have the mushrooms and everything else as things are coming at you, but the centipede's just he's coming as fat, and you got little spiders coming across there, and that was a really fun game. But I remember playing Joust a lot. I don't remember which was you were this character on a flying ostrich. And there's all these floating little islands or whatever, and you got other people on ostriches with jousting sticks, and you had to press the button to keep them to flapping, and then it was a joystick. I don't think it was a trackball, but yeah, you had to like run into each other and stab them.
Have either of you ever been to Barcade in New York City?
No.
Barcade, no.
Yeah, it's a bar and an arcade. Which is a lot of fun. So they do have like Pac-Man and Galaga and Miss Pac-Man and all of that sort of stuff. But it's a nice place to unwind. So Jeff, if we hook up in New York City in October, then maybe we should.
That sounds like
have a run over.
I think that sounds like fun.
Oh,
yes. Now Galaga, was it the tabletop Galaga or was it the stand-up at the time? I came later.
It was the stand-up.
Yes, and I think in there it's the stand-up as well.
Yeah. So go back a couple. This was a long time ago. Corner newsstand up in Corning, New York, near my hometown, was going out of business, and they had a freestanding Ms. Pac-Man, which is my wife's favorite game, for $300. But I couldn't. It would have cost me a fortune to get it home. But now I'm thinking, I mean, the software's got to be so rudimentary inside those big boxes. You could probably just download the software and build one now.
Well, now you could just run the truck over and pick it up.
Yeah, right. I got plenty of space in the back. There you go. Shark Hunt. I got to look that up.
Shark Hunt, yeah. I didn't even Google it for this. I don't even know if it exists on.
It's all in your mind.
Yeah, that might not even be the name of the game, but I remember the harpoon gun and the shark. So Shark Hunt is a stretch for me, just naming it myself from my subconscious. But there you go. So next week, we're going to return to the realm of television. Our main feature next week is going to be a Netflix movie called Extinction.
Extinction with Michael Pena?
Yes. Yeah. And Luke Cage himself. I noticed he was in the trailer.
I didn't see him.
So that's a Netflix movie. So it's easy for all you guys to watch out there that have Netflix. So watch along with us and listen next week. And it is Jeff's classic movie pick.
It is my classic movie pick. And as I told
Wait, now, Jeff.
Yes.
Pick something good.
So here's the deal. What I just said to Jim, which is I need to basically revive my nerd credits with you, Mike, because the last two picks you have gone out of your way to not watch. So I said I need to reclaim my status as a nerd with you. I think it's going to pair nicely with Extinction, which if you watch that trailer, it looks like there's some crazy memory things going on. He's getting the prescient things, maybe real, not real, leading into this alien invasion type of thing. So this movie does have aliens in it. But I'm going to tell you, Jim and Mike, get your ass to Mars.
Oh, Total Recall.
Thank you. Mike is looking like me.
Okay. The first one or the second one?
We're completely dismissing
the Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. We don't even pretend that exists.
I mean, I had to ask, Jeff. I had to ask.
No, we're going with the Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're going with the Schwarzenegger. 1990, Paul Verhoeven directed.
Yes, he did. Now, was this inspired in any way by Arnold's cameo in the Rundown?
No, I actually had this in mind beforehand, but I think it'll pair nicely with Extinction.
I think this is the first Arnold movie we're tackling on TMI.
And we have not. We talked about Conan, I think, during the 82 episode, but that was about it.
Briefly, yeah,
so
briefly.
Yeah. Oh, so briefly. Well, we hit on a lot of them in that episode.
I would love to review one of these days the second Conan movie, Conan the Destroyer.
The Destroyer.
Yeah, love that one.
That's the one with Wilt Chamberlain, Grace Jones,
Olivia Diabu. Yep.
Yes, like the Scooby Gang of the barbaric age.
Of course, yes.
So there you go. We're going to Mars, boys. We're going to the Red Planet.
Sounds good to me.
All right, works for me.
So We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
The wolf flies.